أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. I have recited verses 30 and 31 of Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Holy Quran. And the English translation is, and when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a ruler in the earth. They said, will you place in it such as make mischief and shed blood? And we celebrate your praise and extol your holiness. He said, surely I know what you know not. He taught Adam all the names, then presented them to the angels. He said, tell me the names of those if you write. They said, glory be to you. We have no knowledge but that which you have taught us. Surely you are the knowing, the wise. He said, O Adam, inform them of their names. So when he informed them of their names, he said, did I not say to you that I know what is unseen in the heavens and the earth, and I know what you manifest and what you hide? This is about Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. I start with the apologies for slight technical problems we had. But let's get back to the topic. And in this khutbah, I want to talk about the concept of names, because it says that, and he taught Adam all the names. But let me digress slightly, and that is that a man had damaged his back. He's in the UK, and he had lost the ability to walk because his spinal cord, the nerves that take the messages from the brain to the legs, had been damaged or severed, and so on. So the doctors devised a machine, and they implanted that machine, and that machine took messages from his brain to his legs, bypassing the damaged part of his spinal cord. And he began to walk. He walked a bit like a baby. He was unstable and a bit jerky and so on, but walk he did. And there are many other machines which are on the way. And interestingly, we saw them in science fiction movies. A machine has been or is almost on the point of being launched that will allow the blind people to see. You'll put this thing on your eyes. It's like two video cameras. They will see and transmit messages to your brain about what these things are. And no doubt there are many other such machines which are on the way and being worked on. Now, what I found interesting was, and this was what drew my attention to this verse of the Holy Quran, was that a survey was carried out. And that survey concentrated on people, very religious people. And it mentioned these machines and these implants to them and said, look, there's the doctors and engineers are working on artificial intelligence, and they'll come up with little gadgets that can be implanted in your brain, etc. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? 81% of these devout religious people said, no, this is against God's will and this is against God's law. Now, my question to you is, in which country do these people live? And which religion do they belong to? These were Americans. mostly white Christians who'd been to schools in America, who'd been to colleges in America, who'd been to universities in America, and 81% of them said that this is against God's will and we mustn't do it. The question that arises, if it's against God's will, how come human beings are doing it? But I thought of these verses of the Holy Quran, that God taught Adam all the names. And if we go to classical commentaries of the Holy Quran, people like Imam Ibn Kathir, in his tafsir, he says that Allah taught Adam all the names of everything. And then he goes on to say the correct view is that he taught him, that is Adam, the names of all things, what they are, and their qualities, right down to the noiseless fart. So God didn't just say, show Adam an apple and say to him, this is an apple. He also taught him, according to Imam Ibn Kathir, qualities, all the qualities of that apple. And that applies to everything else. And interestingly, Ibn Kathir refers to Bukhari, a hadith in Bukhari, in making his arguments. And the hadith goes that the believers will assemble on the day of resurrection and will say, let us ask somebody to intercede for us with Allah. So they will go to Adam and they will say, you are the father of all the people. Allah created you with his own hands and ordered the angels to prostrate to you and taught you all the names of everything. And Imam Ibn Kathir then goes on to conclude from that Allah taught him names of everything. Remember, earlier on he says it doesn't just mean names, but it also means their qualities, their characteristics. Ibn Hajar, he also discusses this, and he then says there was some dispute as to the meaning of the word names. It was suggested that this referred to the names of his offspring. That is, some people say when the Quran says God taught him all the names, some say it means all the names of Allah. Some say all the names of Adam's progeny. Or the names of the angels, or the names of different species, without going into details, or the names of everything on earth, or the names of all things, etc. Imam Shawkani says the names, he doesn't say just names, this is an apple, this is a table, this is a horse. Imam Shawkani says that the names are phrases or expressions, and what is meant is the names of objects whose names Allah taught him. This is the opinion of a majority of scholars, and this is the true meaning of the word ism, name. This is confirmed by the word all the names, which indicates that he taught him everything and did not omit anything, no matter what it was. Now, I want to take these explanations further and add something to these views about what the word ism, or what were the names that Allah taught Adam. You see, what happens is that, think of a child. You have a baby, and you're trying to teach that baby the name of something, and you teach him, you don't just say, this is the name, but you point the thing out so that the child can grasp its form, its qualities, its characteristics. Now, let's take an example that if you didn't do this, what will happen? You tell the child that a four-legged animal is called a horse. So the child sees a dog and points to a dog and says horse. Why? Because you've given him limited knowledge. You taught the child anything with four legs is called a horse. A dog has four legs. There are many similarities. A dog has a tail, a horse has a tail. And so you can carry on. So what you do is you say to the child, no, a horse is something different. A horse has these characteristics and a dog has these characteristics. And the child then sees two dogs on the street, one of Queen's corgis and a Rottweiler, and the child is confused because they look totally different. A corgi and a Rottweiler, or an Alsatian, they look totally different. So you teach him the difference between the species of dogs. That yes, they're all dogs, but dogs belong to different families. And you maybe say to the child, well, it's like, you belong to this family and the child next door belongs to the next door neighbor's family, and so on. So what you're doing is you are increasing the child's knowledge so he can more accurately identify things that are around him. So teaching names is not something that is just done once. It is a continuing process that happens throughout every human being's life. Our knowledge of things improves. I mean, I'll give you my example that I had some knowledge of recitation of the Holy Quran. And then someone rang and they said, we teach people to recite the Holy Quran. And I said, well, yes, maybe, but I can recite the Holy Quran. So he said, let me give you a test. And there were many technical faults in my recitation from the Arabic point of view. So I said, oh, okay, can you please teach me the correct accent and help me practice? So that I try Punjabi or Urdu accent. And the same thing happens to other things. Again, take the example of the Holy Quran. When there was lockdown, someone suggested that, rather than quarantine, we make it Quran time and we have some broadcasts about the Holy Quran and so on. So I thought that was a good idea. And I started looking at the formation of words in the Holy Quran. So every day I would take a word on the Holy Quran and look at how it was formed and different meanings it can have, etc., etc. And I'm learning and I'm sharing what I learn with other people. But the point I'm making is that learning, teaching is not something that ends, whatever. And I agree that Imam Shawkani was quite right that it wasn't just a name, that the word names, isma, included phrases and expressions which taught a human being everything about the creation. But I take it further and I say, rather than just meaning that God taught him names, what it means is God gave Adam the ability to find out and learn about everything around him. And when, humans weren't very developed and they had to walk and they couldn't see very far, they developed knowledge of things around them. And then they tamed horses and they could go further. So they developed more knowledge. Perhaps previously they only had knowledge of, I don't know, an area 5 mile in radius around them. Once they got horses, maybe they could have knowledge of things 500 miles. And so it went on. But the interesting thing is, and remember this, the development of these things and abilities took a long time. God gave us this ability, but we developed the ability to speak so we could communicate knowledge. But when one person died, his knowledge died with him. And that was that. Whatever he had learned, whatever research he had done, whatever he had found out on his travels, once he was dead, that was dead and gone as well. Well, people might have remembered it for a generation or two, but that would have been all. So the next thing that developed this further was that writing was invented. It was mainly invented because people wanted to do trade and so on, but that's a different topic. So that meant that the knowledge one generation gathered was now saved, and it could be passed on to others. Although it was very difficult, the method of saving it was not that great. Initially, people carved things on stones, and you see this in Egyptian hieroglyphics. They used pictures to represent things because the concept of alphabet and words had been invented. And then the concept of words and alphabet was invented, but it was still expensive to share that knowledge because people had to sit down and write down books in whatever language. And then, of course, printing press was invented, and it became cheaper and faster to share that knowledge with a lot more people. But books were still expensive. In British universities, there's someone called a reader. What's his job? Well, what it says. He's a reader. Because there was only one book on a particular topic in the library, when there was a class, he was asked to sit there and read out that book, and students would take notes from it. And then, of course, as I said, printing press was invented and things became quicker and cheaper. Next, we come to our time, where we now have the ability to share information almost instantaneously with huge numbers of people. If you have a website, you can go on there and type something in, and anyone who's interested in that topic will be able to see. You can write an email and send it to a large number of people, and they will immediately get whatever it is you're saying. And if it is interesting and they're interested in it, they can share it to others. And those people who receive it, they can share it with further people. And so it goes on. But instantaneously, information is shared with millions of people. These are all stages of the way God taught Adam names. These are stages of how the ability in Adam, in humanity, developed to preserve and perpetuate and share knowledge that they find about everything in the universe, whether it's apples or land or lions or giraffes or whatever. They can communicate with each other. In a way, having got this ability, we are actually going back to the Egyptians and hieroglyphics. Egyptians used pictures to denote things. Now you get little videos, there is no sound. The video might be uploaded by a French person or a German person. I don't know French or German, but I look at that video, and just by looking at the video, I get the message of what he is trying to communicate. This is exactly what Egyptians did. So we are going back to that. Question is then, what is the next stage of being taught these names? I don't know. Perhaps it's artificial intelligence and planting of these AI machines in our body. We already have artificial intelligence machines. We can buy vacuum cleaners that you don't need to physically use to clean a room. You just press a button and eventually the machine learns where the obstacles are and cleans around them. You have lawnmowers that cut grass doing the same thing. But then you can have machines which are implanted in your body to regulate your blood sugar level and your blood pressure so that you don't have strokes and become disabled because parts of your brain are damaged. And we are now at a stage when rather than giving medication to people to cure them, doctors are developing techniques, and it has been developed and used for one type of cancer, that your own immune system is trained and taught that these cells are bad cells. You should attack them and kill them and destroy them, which means that you don't have to suffer all the side effects of these nasty drugs that these poor people have to take. So my view is that when God says, I gave Adam the ability, that ability, or taught him the names, that was God giving Adam the ability to find out for himself what things in the universe are, what their characteristics are, how they operate, and how they behave. And that will continue until humanity, through something foolish, manages to destroy itself and becomes extinct. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun barrufur rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum. واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Before we start our prayers, I want to remind everyone, please pray for all those who are in difficulty. I particularly mention in this respect our brother Jalil from Italy, who underwent serious brain surgery some weeks ago. And I assume he's now undergoing chemotherapy and so on. So please pray for him especially. But pray for the whole humanity that God may keep everyone safe and sound and free from harm. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم اغفر لي. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله أستغفر الله. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. Our next broadcast is going to be, I hope, next week, when we'll carry on with our series, the Dabbarul Quran in Urdu and the reflections on the Holy Quran in English. Until we meet again, I pray that Allah keeps everyone safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.